Let's continue by improving our model and then working some more on the drawing methods, particularly the draw face up. And in this video, we'll draw the rook image in the center of the rook card, and that'll be as far as we go. Okay, so our model, you probably were complaining about this. We'd worked on rook card and rook deck, and then in my model for this card, I ignored it because I need these Boolean int string. I can't have a rook card and have that show up in Interface Builder. I wanted these to be IB inspectables. But really, what we ought to do is we ought to say, well, look, what we have for a model, we have a card, and it's just a rook card, whatever that is. And then let's make all of these computed properties. So to make this a computed property, we're going to attach a getter and a setter. And so the getter, in the case of is face up, we're going to go to our card and we're going to say, well, is face up. In the case of set, we're going to say card.isFaceUp equals new value. Okay, so that's how we turn the is face up into a computed property based on the underlying card. Whoops, I need to say return. Okay, now over here for rank. Okay, so we need to get in a set. And the getter is going to say, well, just return card.rank. No surprise there. And then for the setter, we're going to say, well, card.rank equal new value. No surprise there either. The only one that gets a little interesting over here is the suit, because it's an enumeration based on an underlying string. And so we need to convert to and from that enumeration. So we're going to go to card.suit, but now we're going to pass back the description. And remember, the description is the uppercase version. If I jump to that, it's the uppercase version of the raw value underlying the case of this enumeration. Okay, and now the set, we have to go from a string to an enum. And so I'm going to say if let, if this works, because it doesn't always work, if let new suit equal rook card dot, and now we'll call suit, and we'll initialize it with a raw value that is the new value. If that works, we can now say card.suit equals new suit. And if that doesn't work, it remains unmodified. Okay, now having done that, I still can go to my storyboard and I still have these, default on off, rank can be set, and I can change the suit, and I could say suit rook, for example, and it accepts that just fine as well. Okay, so now back over here. Let's work on our drawing. Okay, so down to the draw face up. Here we go. Okay, top-down decomposition. We're going to continue this process of top-down decomposition, and we want to say, look, if so, there are two kinds of cards that we would want to draw. One is a number card, and the other is the rook card. The rook card is kind of like a face card in a regular playing card deck. But if our suit is equal to rook card.suit.rook, then what we want to draw in the center of our card is an image. So we'll just say draw center image, and otherwise it's a number card, and there are two things we want to draw in the center. We want to draw center text, and we want to draw center square, the square around that text. Okay. In either case, we want to draw corner text when we're done. Okay, so it looks like we need to add a few more stub methods here. So private func draw corner text, private func draw, let's see, center image. I don't have this in alphabetical order, so we'll go fix that in a second here. So center image goes up here. I also need center text, and I need center square. Oh, whoops, I'm in the wrong spot again. Oh, come on. There we go. Draw center text. Okay, do I compile now? Looks good. Okay, so draw center image. This is the last little bit for this particular part of the video. Okay, the first thing we need to do is we need to go get one of these assets out of our assets.xc assets. And it's this one right here called rook square. Okay, so the way we do this, we're going to do a guard let. So I'm looking for a rook image. In fact, that's going to be the UI image that is named, and there are lots of constructors for UI images, but named, and the string is sitting in our constants card.rookImageName. Okay? If that doesn't work, just return. There's nothing for us to do. We're not going to succeed. Don't try to draw it. But if it does work, well, let's go figure out what the width of this ought to be. So let's take our bounds width, and let's subtract off twice times, and now one of my computed properties up here is the center image margin. So the center image margin, I want that to be 15% of the width of the image here, or not of the image, of the card. 15% of the width of the card. So I'm going to subtract off twice that center image margin from the bounds width, and that'll tell me what's left over to be the width of the center image. Okay? Now with that, then I can build a rook image rectangle, and that will be a CG rect, and I want the constructor that looks like this, and my X is going to be center image margin. My Y is going to be, okay, so now here I have to calculate the other direction. It's essentially that same calculation that we had before. So we're going to calculate bounds dot height minus width and divide that quantity by 2. And then the width and height are both the width that I just computed up above. Now, let's see here. So X is that center image margin, Y is half of the available space around the image vertically, and the width and height are what we calculated there. Okay, and I'm going to wrap all 4 of those on a separate line there. Okay, good. Now the last little thing is we need to say, rook image, would you please draw yourself in, and let's call it rook image rect. Draw yourself in that rectangle, and let's see what happens. So up it comes. Our project loads. And now it is squashed, but it's drawing the image. So we'll diagnose that at the beginning of our next video, and we'll continue drawing more of the pieces of the face-up card.